Welcome to Sharing My Truth with Mel and Suzie, the uncensored version, where we bear it all.
We do.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. I should put my ASMR voice on because that's kind of what we're talking about today. And we are talking about, it's Share My Truth. Share My Truth Pod. Everyone, welcome. Welcome to Share My Truth Pod. I'm Suzie. I'm here with my girlfriend, Mel. And this is your friendly reminder to give us a sexy little 5-star review on this pod because you love us, because we have what, Mel? A praise kink.
We do.
And what are we talking about today, Mel?
Well, we are talking about the truth about kinks.
Oh, there it is.
Following on from our episode about fetishes. Fetishes. And we promised that we would do this. And we've had an awful lot of questions and a lot of response about our episode about fetishes.
Yeah, because you guys are fucking freaky little bitches.
Apparently so. And so we said we'd do this, so this is what we're doing.
Yes, and I think it's super, super important to talk about kinks because everyone is kinky.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't really realize what a kink is until you look up kinks and you're like, wait, doesn't everyone do this?
Exactly.
And you're like, no, I'm not kinky. This is just regular. But apparently it's not.
No, exactly. I mean, that's the weird thing is you have in this mind. In this mind?
Even in my mind.
So whatever. Is that you sort of imagine, or maybe I do, like Catwoman in like her like sort of tight latex thing stuck to her skin with some kind of thing and a whip and the whole business and a chain and whatever. And then she's
the
like
whip, the flog, she's just
exactly, and her partner's like chained in a we call it a nappy, a diaper to like a
diaper.
Sort of some weird torture chair.
Yeah.
But actually, that really is the very extreme level.
Yeah.
And there's many, many things that many people do. And I don't think they even realize it's technically a kink. Because anything that basically is outside of the norm is kink. It's kinky.
Well, within our research of this episode, Mel, we were looking at dirty talk is apparently kinky.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, licking your partner's nipple is a little kinky. Anything that is not missionary is apparently a kink.
Basically, anything that's sort of unconventional. I'm looking at the... how do you say this?
Oh, tell us the Webster's dictionary.
Merriam-Webster.com dictionary. Unconventional sexual taste or behavior. So a fetish is to an inanimate object.
Mm-hmm.
Like you like shoes or you like whatever you like. Can't think of anything that comes to mind right now.
You like panty. You like a certain kind of panties, maybe.
Yes.
I don't know. You like an earring, maybe? Is that like a fetish?
Oh,
but an earring, like a certain kind of an earring, a belly button piercing, maybe?
I see, yeah. But a
kink
is more, a sexual taste or behavior. So it's more like a thing that you do.
Yes.
As opposed to a thing that you're focused on, an object, an inanimate object.
Exactly. And there are so many kinks out there, it's actually fucked up. And it's too many for us to talk about on this little pod, an hour.
It's too many to talk about, but I think the important thing is to highlight that you go from where most people are, which is at the sort of what we think of, and then
what we think of as in missionary. Do you mean, or
no, people think of Catwoman, who's in the BDSM thing maybe,
right.
But actually within BDSM, it's just if you own a little old whip or a pair of handcuffs or anything like that, which pretty much everyone has done, you're kinky.
I think you're a bit kinkier than you lead on, Mel.
Me? Oh yeah, kinky mum. Kinky mum? That
kinky
sounds
milf.
weird. Kinky mum, well. Anyway,
don't get the people going too much.
Super fucked up. But it goes to such an extreme level, doesn't it? So it goes from that, where what I'm saying is a lot of people have dabbled in the entry-level kink. Yes. Should we call entry-level kink?
Absolutely. Kink for beginners.
Kink for beginners. And I think most people are in the kink for beginners section, that maybe they or their partner or they've become, introduced to things, but really are not that weird.
Yeah.
But they're actually part of a grouping, let's say it's BDSM or role play. I mean, I have to say I'm not really into dress up. I don't like dress up, but
No role play. I love a dress up.
I hate it. I hate being another persona. I absolutely detest it. So
Interesting.
dress up what do you call them? Parties where you go up
like
as a
costume
character.
parties.
Absolutely detest them.
Yeah, I don't really like costume parties either, but I love dressing up in the bedroom.
Yeah, I that's not really a stretch for me to think that, Susie. But that is, I don't think lots and lots of people have done that. I mean, you can buy a bajillion outfits, but that's kinky. And it's like, it's not really kinky, is it?
Well, even like hosiery, like women wearing hosiery is kinky.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that seems pretty fucking normal to me. You know what I mean?
I mean, you think like you go and you buy your sexy lingerie, and you wear your whatever, and you wear your tights with the suspenders in the old days.
Yes.
What do you call them when you have the thing? Do you call them here the suspender?
No, it's not a suspender.
We call them a suspender in
It's
England.
a garter.
No, garters and
the thing with the thing.
That's a garter. No, the thing that goes from the tights to the pants.
They call it a garter
We call it
Canada.
a suspender.
Okay.
Suspenders. Anyway, but that is not a big thing, is it? That's what you think of a sexy image of a woman, like in the sort of, I don't know, central narrative, is like a woman in sexy underwear, sexy kind of tights, high heels.
Yeah.
So apparently that's kinky, but that's the norm. But you're saying that kinky is anything that's not sort of kind of in the norm, which doesn't make any sense.
It's crazy. I mean, as we said, there's so many types of kinks. You could be a kinky motherfucker and you have no idea, you know? What you like. But we're going to go through some of the main kinks that we know of, that you've heard of, that I think people are talking about right now, that are actually taking up a lot of the sex industry in a way. And obviously BDSM is a huge one, a part of that. And obviously BDSM stands for bondage, discipline, submission, sadism, masochism. Like there's all these kind of like variations of it. But it's all kind of allowing that feel of either control or like letting go, or like, you know, just being what's the opposite of not being in control? Like
submissive.
Exactly. Thank you, Mel.
Yeah.
You know a lot about this, obviously.
I wouldn't say I was submissive, but okay.
She's a dom mummy. But yeah, so it's kind of about pain, and it's about pain to where you're comfortable as.
Yeah.
But it's also about mental pain and mental games where you're getting turned on, like in this realm of BDSM. You know, there's a whole slew of things like edging and latex and all of these other things that might be more like tangible for the everyday person, instead of being like tied up in like, you know, ropes and chains.
By Catwoman.
I would love that though.
I'm still on Catwoman, aren't I?
I'd love her, yeah.
But I mean, that's the point. Like even BDSM, there are levels, right? And if you go to sort of entry level, most people have kind of done something around, you know, stuff like either tying somebody up or what, but not like really not like that serious. What's that Japanese stuff? You know, that Japanese shit where they have all the rope thing. It's like an art
that's
form.
what I was trying to think.
What is that called? And we can't. I mean, that's like serious stuff, and that seems like an awful lot of work. But I think the other thing is just to remember. And I would like to state, we are in no way kink shaming anybody.
Hell no.
You do you. But I think that it's going back to, we've talked about this in a lot of episodes, we talked about this with professionals, that sex is play. It's a game.
Yes.
And it's fun. And I think that's the thing that people lose touch with a lot. And that game has to kind of keep evolving, because otherwise it gets very boring. You're doing the same thing. It's a bit like if you went to the same restaurant every Friday, Saturday night of your life, or you did the same thing. It gets boring. So sex is the same thing. And you kind of go through ebbs and flows and different things, and, you know, that's fun and it's not fun anymore and blah, blah, blah. And there are different levels of where you want to go with that play. So some people are kind of a little bit kinky. Well, most people are, really, and going along this definition.
Yeah.
And some people want to take it a lot further. And quite frankly, if they are in a relationship with whomever they're in that relationship with, whether it's 1, 2, however many partners, and everyone knows what's going on, that's fine.
Yes,
See?
as long as everything is consensual. And that is a huge actually thing. And I believe we've spoken about this obviously in BDSM.
Mhm.
Everything BDSM is a community of consent.
Yeah.
And if you're not consent, it's not BDSM. Like,
Right.
that's literally what holds the community together. It would just be absolute anarchy if there was not consensual.
100%.
Right? Like, and also, I just want to say, I want to interrupt for 1 second. The Japanese rope play is
Yes.
called shibari.
That's it.
Shibari, everyone,
That's
if
it.
anyone was wondering.
I saw a documentary about that years ago.
It's very interesting.
It's wild. It seems like awfully time consuming.
But it's an art form, and that's kind of
Yes.
that's the edging. It's the foreplay.
Yeah.
It's all about the actual sex act.
Yeah,
And as
100%.
we
It's all
speak about in most of our episodes, like, you know, sex is not just penetration.
No.
It's the entire experience of it.
100%.
Is what it is.
And also that sex, and we've talked about this and we'll continue to talk about this, is very, very complicated. And that for something that baffles me, to be honest, that is the most natural thing in the world, which should be the easiest thing in the world, is not. And it's for some people, it's not complicated. For other people, for probably the majority, it's very complicated. And it's just, there's so many levels within that. So I mean, that's part of, if you think about kinks and fetishes, it's just not simple. We just think sex, you know, it's like the penis going in the vagina or the vagina on the vagina or the
If penis
whatever.
was just going in vagina and that was sex, I would be a completely different person. You know what I mean? If that was it, if that's all it was, I would have a completely different career.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Well, yes, I think a lot of people probably just be like, "Oh, I'm over that now."
I'm over that.
They'd be like, I'd
What's
go
the
in and
point?
Just have another glass of wine, can't be bothered," because it would just be like, "Oh my god, this is so
So
boring."
fucking boring.
I think, yeah, but I don't think that's what we're even today, even with younguns like yourself, Suzie,
Me?
is you're not taught that. You're still
No.
taught, which is eternally fascinating to me, that we haven't moved on in understanding this, that it isn't just about penis and vagina or penis and anything or vagina and vagina or whatever you want to call it. It's much more complicated.
What
It's
did you
many,
call it
many
today?
things.
Your vagina? Your vagina?
My vagina. Somebody, who was it? One of my daughters said a badusi.
What in the actual fuck is a badusi?
Apparently that's a vagina.
I love that. My big old badusi
Yeah.
flapping in the wind.
I normally like saying
Terrifying.
my hoo-hoo.
My hoo-hoo.
Yeah.
I like to say
For
my
JJ.
puss.
Your puss. The puss. I
My
do
pussy.
find that
Little pussy.
super. Don't like that. Puss. It's just something creepy about that.
It's so creepy. Still do it though.
Anyway, back onto kinks.
Back onto it. So obviously BDSM is a huge one, but yeah, like BDSM, you could be doing anything. And I think most people who want to start in BDSM or want to kind of get their toes wet into it, edging is a great place to start with that, because it does actually create a bigger and better orgasm at the end of the day. If you're edge playing.
You need to explain what that is.
Okay, I'm so sorry. So it's like you and your partner, or you can also just be doing it when you're masturbating. You can, you're like masturbating, and then you stop right before you come.
Mhm.
And then you kind of give yourself 5 seconds or however long, and then you keep on going again, and you do it again, and you get it again, and then you stop right before you come. And it builds up into this, like we talked on one of our last episodes,
Like the volcano.
fucking
or the
volcano
avalanche or whatever,
orgasm. It really helps in that kind of play,
yeah. Right.
where either you're doing this with your partner and he's or she is, or they is kind of letting this kind of settle and then building it up and again. And it can be kind of like a game, and it's kind of fun and sexy.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if you're using toys, you can do all kinds of stuff. Also, edging is not for if you're trying to get a quickie on, okay?
No.
Edging is for if you got an hour.
If you got some
It's
time.
fucking fabulous.
If you got some time, and to be honest, coming from an old, crone like me, you should. That's what you should be doing. That's the whole point of
Yes.
making it last. But yeah, that's not the whole idea of a quickie. But you kind of need to, like we said this in a previous episode with one of the eminent doctors we spoke to, Dr. Luth, is that you need to kind of agree or have some kind of idea that you do kind of different things, and that you're not. It's 12 o'clock at night. I've got a presentation at 6 a.m. We're not having a 3-hour session.
No.
We're going to have a quick wham bam. That's it. We're
Wham
gonna
bam,
sleep.
thank you, ma'am.
Exactly. You gotta be a little bit reasonable, everyone. Just remember that. Anyway,
Shall we move on
yes.
to role play?
Yes, which you said you like role play.
I love role play. I've been into role play since I was like 16.
Well, you're an actress. I mean, that seems obvious to me.
That's true. I mean, I never honestly thought of it in that way because I was just like, oh no, I like just to, and not even like be someone else, but just kind of like be a sexier version of myself in a different way.
Is that possible?
You have no idea, Mel. It's terrifying, honestly.
Yeah.
It's supposed to rule the world, okay?
Yeah.
But no, yeah. So you kind of have to like put yourself in a different space, in a different mental space. And obviously you want a partner to also appreciate that in that way.
Yeah, 100%. Or they have to sort of want to go along with it and not sort of giggle through the whole thing and think it's silly.
Exactly.
I mean, I think there are different levels. Like there are some people who kind of, you know, like dressing in a little outfit and surprising their woman or man or woman, you know, whatever, you know. I'm trying to cover everything. Or there's kind of like the idea of we'll meet in a bar and I'll pretend that I'm Dr. Crusoe.
I always wanted to do that.
I bet you have. Why did I know that? And you come with a raincoat and then you see and you say, hello, Mr. Blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And you're like, there's nothing underneath this raincoat. You see?
Yes.
You see, I'm good at this. But I would never do that.
Yeah.
But so it depends where you take it, doesn't it?
It really does. And I think that's kind of the fun part about it is that if you're trying to spice up a sex life, if maybe you've been with your partner for a bit and you want to do something different, yes, buying lingerie is one thing and you can do that. But also, you know, those things cost money. Like if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. You have sexy clothes in your closet, I'm sure. Or like, you know, you can wear a skirt with nothing underneath. Like there's things that you can do to kind of tease your partner.
Yes,
and
that's
role
true.
play in a way that doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, you can do what Sharon Stone in that movie did. You know, when she crosses her legs. Yeah.
God,
actually, that happened once.
To you?
Not to me. But I had this. I'm going to have to tell you this story because it just suddenly popped into my head, which is kind of a weird thing. But anyway, when I was living in England years ago, when I was first married with my husband, my neighbor at the time, so I was probably about 28, 29, and she was like a serious MILF, but a really, really attractive
like
MILF.
You, babes.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah.
No, but she was like a single mum and really hot, very good looking. And she had a bit of a thing for Max.
Ooh.
And she wasn't like, you know, weird
no?
about it, but she had a lot of boyfriends. At one point, we thought she might be, you know, have a sideline. Yeah, a very good English word, prosy. Yeah. But anyway, so one day, I'm cutting this story really short. We just had a renovation to our house and we built another floor onto the top of our house. Sounds very glamorous, but it wasn't at all. Anyway, so she said, oh, can I come round? Because she had the same house. Can I come round and have a look? And and so she said, she's going up the stairs.
Oh,
and Max is like, yeah, just go up the stairs, you know, innocently, go up the stairs. Yeah, I'll follow you. And she goes upstairs, very, very short skirt, really lovely legs. And then as she's walking up the stairs, and he's just like, oh my God, that's her vagina. With no knickers on, and up the stairs it went. And of course, his eyes were remaining on the slice as it went up the stairs. I wasn't there. And afterwards he told me, he's like, oh my God, you will never guess what has happened. I just saw Judith's vagina. He didn't say vagina. He probably said whatever a Canadian would say. But it was a very fanny, because our fanny to us is the front,
yes,
not the back. And it was very, very funny. So that was my Sharon Stone moment, but I wasn't there.
I could just see Max's face, like just knowing him. I think that is the funniest fucking thing I've ever heard. Oh my God.
It was like, he was just like, on the one hand, like, oh my God, this is amazing. On the other hand, this is kind of fucking creepy.
Yeah. Just like...
But she was very hot. I'll give you that. She's really good.
Like, what is he supposed to do? Like, was she trying to seduce him?
Well,
like...
I mean, if you're wearing a mini skirt, it's hard to forget you're not wearing any knickers, any undies.
Like, where'd they go?
Where have they go? They're clearly not covering anything. But she was very clearly not wearing underwear and very clearly purposely not wearing them. Because if you're wearing a short skirt and you're going up the stairs before a man, you know you haven't got any fucking undies on. So anyway, that's my vagina, Sharon Stone, the whole bit story. It wasn't as exciting as Sharon Stone, but there you go. Anyway, we can carry on.
I absolutely love that fucking story. I mean, you got to do, if this is your partner, we're not saying do this to another man.
No, do it with your partner. Yeah, you might find that really fun. And the other thing I have to say is that if you are shy in life, which clearly you are not, Susie, but if you... Yeah, shock horror. And that may kind of go over into your bedroom life. And that's what a
Yes.
lot of people, they really want to come out of their shell,
Yes.
but they find it incredibly difficult because they're shy or they're repressed from whatever socially background, religion, whatever the hell it is. If you actually do some role play, and I'm not saying this is actually my bag, but I can actually see that if you do it, it could actually help you by being something else to kind
Totally.
of come out of yourself. And why not? But as long as you just have to set it up. You can't just suddenly, there's your boyfriend or your husband like sitting there watching whatever, and then you come out in Catwoman, see, she's back,
Yeah.
outfit. You're going to give him the fright of his life. You kind of need to you don't have to say exactly what you're doing.
You got to ease into it a bit.
Or you just say that this is your sexy date, and you don't have to be specific.
Yeah.
It might want to surprise.
Or just be like, hey, I have a surprise for you
Yeah.
upstairs. And then you walk upstairs with no panties.
Exactly, in your ranger
And
jacket,
then they know what's going
pretending to
on.
be the inspector who's coming
The
around to
inspector.
inspect you.
The
There's been a
detective.
serious incident in the neighborhood.
The
sir.
penis inspector's here.
Detective Penis is here.
Detective penis is here.
She's really getting into it.
Detective pussy.
God, I can't breathe.
That's you.
Anyway,
babe.
that's giving you all some. That's seriously helpful.
I
But
think
honestly,
we're going to do it.
I honestly think if you are if you are shy or you find it hard or you want to do something different, it can actually be quite helpful to sort of transpose yourself onto something else. Like you're
Yes.
not you. Or or the other thing is if you're having a lot of stress going on in your life for
Yes.
whatever reason, just pretend to be somebody else. It could probably help.
Exactly. And it's a stress reliever. Like sex already is a stress reliever. Obviously, we know that. But like, it's something else. Yeah, exactly what you're saying.
It's a
Like to
game.
get your brain out of your body a bit.
100%. It's
Yeah.
an adult consensual game, and that's the point of it.
That's the point.
But apparently, it's kinky. I think it's
I think it's lovely.
exactly lovely.
The British lovely.
Lovely. I think
It's
that's
absolutely lovely.
darling. Lovely.
Well, let's move on to something maybe not
Yes.
as lovely.
Yes,
but
Sophie.
somewhat more sexual, if you can.
Okay then. What's
And we're
that?
talking about cuckolding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mel's not into it.
No. I think somebody really has to explain it to me.
I think. Okay.
I mean, I know what it is.
I'm gonna do my.
but-
I know you know what it is, and we're gonna say for our guests,
Mm.
for our audience,
Mhm.
what the hell is cuckolding? So
Mhm.
cuckolding, in basic terms, is, let's say, because it's mostly in men. It's
Mhm.
mostly men. Obviously, you can be any gender, but usually it's a man wanting to watch someone else fuck his wife,
Yeah.
and it's usually a man fuck his wife. That's what he wants to do. He wants to watch another man fuck his wife, and that's what cuckolding is.
But he doesn't always have to watch. He could also, isn't it also that
Yes.
she can go off and do it and come back and
And tell
him all
about
the gory details?
Yes.
And I'm trying to understand this. And at the end of the day, I don't have to understand this because just because I don't do it doesn't mean it's not something that somebody else wants to do. I just think that if you are in a couple where that is going on or that is something that your male partner wants to do, you really have to want to do that.
Yeah.
Don't do it just because he wants to do it.
Exactly.
Because I just think that can cause a lot of problems.
Well, it's like the same thing where it's like maybe your girlfriend wants a threesome with another girl.
Yeah.
And maybe the guy's not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Like everybody has to be consenting and for everyone involved.
100%,
Obviously, that seems
100%,
obvious, but like
100%.
I think it just has to be said because it's very easy to be like want to make your partner happy.
Yeah.
But if you're in this situation, it could actually be traumatizing.
And
And that's a bad place to be.
It can be traumatizing, and I think it could have a lot of long-lasting, like ramifications and
Mhm.
kind of the way you feel about yourself, and that could get very, very complicated.
Exactly.
If you're consenting and you want to do it and it's fun, then that's fine. That's not
Yeah.
traumatic. But I think you really have to have a lot of conversations before you do anything like that.
Yeah, because it changes your entire relationship.
100%, yeah.
Whether it's you're the man who wants to be cuckolded,
Yeah.
and watch your wife or your partner get fucked by someone else
Yeah.
or do something else with whatever it is. That's a lot to take in. And you have to be prepared for the consequences of that as well, where she might like that a lot and she maybe doesn't want to fuck you anymore. Or, you know what I mean? Like, maybe you still want to fuck her even though you want to be cuckolded sometimes, and she doesn't want that anymore. She actually is really, really into it. Or now she's like, well, I don't actually know if I like this. I don't ever want to do this again. I did it once. I'm never going to do it again. Are you going to stay with this person? Like, there's so many ramifications that can happen.
100%. But isn't there another element of cuckolding that is that the man who wants to watch his partner, wife, whatever, with somebody else, or she goes off, or he goes off, or whatever, goes off and does something and comes back, that there's an element that man enjoys that because there's an element of degradation there.
Totally.
And so there's a lot of mental stuff going on.
Well, cuckolding is actually also even a like a part of BDSM in a way. Right? In this, like, not directly, but it is kind of in that like masochism way for the man.
Yeah, in a humiliation way.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean that's complicated, isn't it?
It's very complicated. And we honestly, if you have a cuckolding kink, I would love to get your insight on it, gentlemen or even ladies. If you've had the situation happen, I would absolutely love to hear about it, because I don't think we know enough about it. And I don't think enough people want to talk about it. And it's so interesting to me because it's like, I can understand a threesome where everyone's involved, but cuckolding is so specific where the guy whose partner it is, they don't want to be involved at all.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm just looking at an article here from Glamour magazine, and it says what the actual definition of cuckolding is. So traditionally, cuckolding is when a heterosexual couple. Oh, I didn't know that either. I didn't know. Is that
I think it's any.
It just maybe is more common or whatever. Yeah. I don't know. Agrees to both explore and turn on off the female sleeping with other men and humiliating her male partner about the fact that she's sleeping with someone else. So that's the piece, is the humiliation piece.
Right.
So it's almost like you're having a consensual affair, but it's still humiliating.
Yeah.
So it's just without the surprise. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, neither of us are qualified to really understand what that means, but that sounds quite huge. And that, I think that's the thing about kinks, like we were saying, is they can start from something so, like, you're dressing up with your raincoat and being Dr. Penis, Detective Penis, sorry.
Detective Penis.
Thank you. Or you're wearing lacy knickers and a lovely suspenders and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Or going to this. It's like pretty extreme, like, I mean, swing, isn't it?
There's other things where it's like, I know this started a lot through COVID, but virtual sex was a huge thing, right?
Right.
And I think that's also a way to kind of start if you wanted to
get your
kink. Yeah, totally, for sure. Like if you're just getting off with people virtually.
Oh, like people you don't know.
People you don't know.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Like where it's like you're like having virtual sex and you're kind of going through the chats until someone will kind of like virtually have sex with you, kind of. But it's not a site for sex, but there's nothing to stop it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But that's also, it might be kind of an interesting way to, if you wanted to get your feet wet in cuckolding. If you're like, hey, partner, person, wife, girlfriend, whoever, why don't you have virtual sex with this guy?
That's true.
And then you're not putting any penis and vagina. There's nothing going on like that.
No.
And he's just watching.
Yeah, 100%. Because that would be my next question. How do you find this person who's just swooping in and having the sex and going away, and he's like a unicorn but a man?
Or you get like one of the guys' friends.
What's a male unicorn?
It's a unicorn, I think.
Is it? I don't think men are unicorns. I think
Maybe
girls,
they're just horses.
Maybe they're just
stallions.
More like mule holocaust. But I mean, you sweep in and you have sex and then you go off and then your relationship's just completely normal.
Yeah.
And who is this person who's not going to fuck your life up?
It's really hard to find, I think. I think you got to be really careful with that.
100%. Hundo P.
Not a hundo P from Miss Mel.
Hundo P. It's not something I got that off somebody else. I think it's hilarious, so I say that. Hundo P. Anyway.
But yeah, so cuckolding, if you experience it, if you like it, if you don't like it, let us fucking know. We want to hear about it.
We do. I'm fascinated.
I'm fascinated by cuckolding.
I'm fascinated as to why you like it.
Yes.
And again, no judgment. I'm just interested. And why and how you find an appropriate person who's going to respect you, who's not going to like tell the world. I mean, even if you're not somebody famous, it could be pretty bloody embarrassing.
Yeah.
If somebody at work or whatever, or somehow this gets
You
out.
don't want people to know when it gets out. Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah. Because it's always the thing, we were discussing this earlier, that the people you know in your life who are actually the kinkiest
Mhm.
are the most straight looking people.
It's so interesting.
Like, I actually think you're probably nowhere near as kinky as some of the friends I know who look so straight laced, and they're probably way kinkier. Because there's something about if everything is sort of more on the surface and more
Yeah.
less hidden.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're not as kinky. I don't know what that is.
I have no idea
Is that a
either.
thing? Somebody should let me know. And again, I'm not a professional. That's just my personal observation.
Personal
Personal
opinion.
observation.
My personal pussy opinion.
She had to get that in there.
I did. Well, we'll move on.
Yes. Let's move on.
I mean, we're kind of getting dirtier and dirtier, you know?
Okay.
Like there's things like how do I say this? Europhilia?
Yeah, that's the golden shower, isn't
No,
it?
it is, darling. Piss play, if you will.
Piss play.
Piss play.
Golden shower sounds so much nicer.
You get
doesn't
some waterproof blankets. I don't know how it works. I'm not into this. This is not something that is
just do
my
it in the
kink.
shower.
You
Because
think that would be
pee
enough?
Smells. Really smells,
Pee's
everyone.
gross.
It's disgusting.
But if you're into it, you're into it.
it's
I
a
don't know why.
byproduct.
All
But
the power
look,
to
yeah,
you.
I mean, if you're into it, I mean, I guess it's warm. I don't know. But I mean, yeah, that would be my issue would be the furniture.
Ugh.
Save the furniture. But
put a tarp down. God damn it!
where does all the pee go? Do you
I
just
don't know.
Is it like, do you just sort of whiz? Or I did hear of a story once of a man who liked the girl to stand up and piss in his mouth, and I find that very.
There is so much porn out there
Interesting.
with men pissing in women's mouths. And
I understand that. Yeah,
I
think
get so turned off when I see that,
gross.
and I'm like scrolling through porn, and I'm like, "This is vile." to
it's totally
me.
vile. But it's totally vile, and
Ugh.
it's very invasive, dominant. It's sort of very old school. Yeah, it's ugh.
Ugh, so
but
gross.
why
to
would
me.
you want a woman to pee in your mouth?
Because our pee is unicorn piss.
It really isn't.
It could be.
Yeah, I've nothing to.
Tastes
Yeah, but
tastes like lemonade.
well, I guess you haven't tasted lemonade.
Just certain kind.
I
you know?
just
You could sell it.
I actually you can sell it. You can sell your own pee,
Where?
much like you can sell your own panties.
What? You can sell your pee on what?
You can.
Sellmypee.com?
Yeah, there's probably a site. I heard that somewhere, and it actually has quite a decent value.
I've tried to sell my panties, and it's a lot harder than you think.
Well, there's a guy who keeps writing us who wants to buy our panties, so maybe you should sell them to him.
$500 a pop,
Well,
baby.
this is the problem. If you buy very nice French underwear,
yes.
then which I do,
Yeah, of course, babes. Your pussy is pristine.
I am not giving my. I'm going to use the North American expression panties away.
No, of course not.
They're
Well,
not
no, you're
some
selling
cheapy.
them.
Yeah, no. I mean, so if I'd sold them, that'd be like £2,000, $2,000 for a pair with
fuck
used.
yeah. Oh my God, guys. $2,000, you get both of our panties.
No, 4,000.
Sorry, 4,000. Double it. You get $4,000. You get
I
both
don't
of our
want to waste
panties.
my underwear. It's
Thank
like
you,
nice
Mel.
underwear.
I love you so much.
It's
Just-
it's
You're
a way-
top notch, Mel. So yeah, piss play. That's piss play.
Piss play.
And
Back
I
onto
think,
piss play.
I think, you know, because I think this can go anywhere. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? We could talk about kinks for fucking days on end.
We
here.
really could. And we looked at a lot of articles, and there were so many. We're
It's
like,
too many.
this is a total mindfuck.
I can't deal with
So
it. I
we-
can't deal with it.
We've selected a few.
Yeah, I think my last one that I want to talk about, and then we'll take it to you because I know you want to talk about so many kinks that you have, obviously.
Obviously, yeah.
The last one I want to talk about
The
is
kinkiest person you'll ever meet.
exhibitionism. Because I
Right.
think this is a really interesting one.
Right.
Because I think it happens more likely than you think.
More likely, more often.
More often. More often. Yes, more often.
Becoming like me, like a
I am like a
menopausal
blah, 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 blah.
lunatic. Yeah.
More often than you think. And because you know, people go to sex parties. There's
Right.
sex clubs out there. People are jerking off where the fuck they want, and I think people like to watch,
Not so
and I
illegal.
think people like to do it. It's very illegal. But people don't
What's
give a
the
fuck.
difference between exhibitionism? Well, voyeurism, I suppose, is that
Voyeurism
looking
is
at
watching.
and exhibitionism. The exhibitionism thing, I'm not really sure. Like, for example, I remember years and years ago, I used to live in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
I went to university in Paris, and I know that's not very normal.
You're very bougie. It's okay.
I'm very
Mel.
bougie. I went to university in Paris. So I lived in Paris for 5 years. And for some bizarre reason, and I'm really sorry if this is no longer the case, this is only relevant to when I was living in Paris. There were lots of men around who just like wank off in public. Like myself included, and several of my friends would be on the metro, which is like the subway, right? The tube for English people. And one of my friends, it happened to one friend of mine, that was on a packed metro, and she got off the metro and looked down at her trousers, at her pants, and this guy had wanked all the way down her pants. Another time I was on the metro and I was with this friend of mine who's very tall, and she's just standing there. She could actually hold, the things on.
I can't hold it. I can't.
No, I
reach.
have to like swing off them. I can't even hold them. So, and then all of a sudden she yelped because this man just got his hand and put his hand between her vagina, between her legs.
Oh
and
my
she jumped,
fucking
God.
God.
And then the amount of times I'd been like in a situation where a man grabs your boob, or he's just wanking, or I don't know. It must have been a really particular thing about living in France in the 90s. I don't know if that's still the case, and if you're French, you can let me know. And I'm very, very sorry if I've offended anyone, but that was what happened to me. But it is absolutely disgusting, especially, I was a young woman, I was in my early 20s, seeing men doing that. Like, it's so offensive. And you're like, what gives you the right to stand there beating one out in the middle of a park, or like, although then you think they're going behind a tree and having a piss, and you're like, they're there for a bit too long and that hand is moving in the wrong way. They are not having a piss. And you're like, imagine if I just, went round the tree and suddenly
they'd love it.
Get my thing. Exactly. That's the ridiculous thing. But anyway, it's just not, I'm not sure on what terms exhibitionism.
Well, it's hard because like having sex in the car is exhibitionist.
Oh, I have another story about that.
Have you
Actually,
done
this
a sex
summer.
in the car?
No, I'm not.
Come on, Mel.
Not really.
You got a big fucking SUV out there.
I have, yeah. It's very uncomfortable, let's be fair.
I'm not saying it's
This summer, Max was driving along and had to park his car, and he wasn't in Canada, but he was in this place where there weren't a lot of cars, and he thought, oh, that car's moving around a lot. And he had to go to like visit somebody in this house, so he sort of go by the car, and there were these two men just going for it in the car, and it was in Europe, so cars are very small, and this car was like, and they were going for it in a car.
I mean, I'm not against doing it in a car.
No, I mean, fair enough. I just think there are other places that are more comfortable. It depends where you are and what your needs
that's
are.
the problem, babe. Not the problem. It's the solution. Like, you're an exhibitionist. You're going to fuck in a car. That's the whole point. You're like, oh, maybe someone's going to see us.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people are very into that.
Yeah.
With people seeing them. I remember actually once, I've got all these stories, so many things happened to me. Once being in a very nice hotel. Very, very exclusive kind of spa place in Europe. And I was just like walking along, wearing my, pool gear or whatever. I just looked to my right, and there was like, a lady who cleans the rooms. I don't want to say this in a nice way. The maid?
Lady?
The maid.
That's fine.
Yeah. And the guy who kind of did the maintenance or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was like a little, no, it was a little like, just a little sort of section between two buildings. I don't know how they thought how nobody was going to see them. And she was full on her knees, giving him a massive blowjob.
The cleaning lady was giving someone a blowjob.
The maintenance guy. Yeah. Wow. And all I was doing was walking to the pool. I was like, wow. And
at least they're going to be happier.
Do you know
to
what
clean up?
First thought was, I don't think that penis is going to be very clean because he looked a bit sweaty. That was the thing that popped into my head.
Maybe she likes that. Maybe that's her kink, though.
And I thought, oh, is she now going to go and clean my room? Who knows? No, I'm kidding. I didn't actually think
kidding.
that. I'm not kidding. No, but it's the funniest thing when you see shit like that. This is the thing.
People want to be watched. And I mean, when you're like a flasher, right?
Yeah, and that again is, I would like to say, obviously highly illegal. And if you've had it happen to you, which I have when I was a kid several times, it's horrible. and very confusing for children, particularly. And it tends to happen to very young people.
That's horrible.
And you have these weird things that happened to me twice or maybe even 3 times. And you much later in life, you sort of remember it and you're like,
that wasn't right.
What was that? Yeah, because it's so out of context, and
Yeah.
especially if you're young and before you're actually doing anything, it's very confusing. But flashing is a whole weird, creepy
It's
thing.
super creepy.
And super illegal.
I mean, exhibitionism in itself is fucking illegal.
Yeah.
Obviously, you shouldn't be just having sex, moaning, getting your jollies out in front of people.
Is it illegal to do it in a car in Canada?
Like 100%.
Yeah.
But
okay.
it's the safest way to be an exhibitionist.
What about a plane? And I don't mean the Mile High Club going in the loo, which is still my big problem with that is how dirty the toilets are.
How dirty
on
and how
planes.
do you fit in there?
Well, I've been
so
on planes where
small.
people take an extraordinary amount of time, and several times where 2 people have come out. And
No.
my first thought is always that is so disgusting in there. But I've also been on a plane several times where you think that blanket is moving in a very unnatural manner.
Oh my God.
And one time a woman, let's say her head was not where it
No,
should be.
Mel.
Yeah, all
You're
this shit always
kidding.
happens. Oh yeah, all this shit happens to me.
Oh my-
I've lived
You're
this
just
long.
very observant.
I am. Nothing gets by me, but I just think I'm in lots of situations, and I've lived a fairly, longish time, and you just see things. You just see shit.
Yeah, I get it.
But people, you just think to yourself, really? I mean, is this a good idea?
People don't think about sex as a good idea, babes. They think about it as a fun thing to do for 15 minutes.
You're right.
Like skydiving. That's definitely not a good fucking idea, but I've done it. It was probably fucking stupid,
I'd never do that.
but I did it.
Yeah. Well, whatever, I mean,
Whatever floats your little jollies, but just
Whatever
do it
floats
without
your boat.
hurting anyone else, obviously.
do it without hurting anybody else, and really consensual and really legal.
Legal? Well, who knows? I'm not
Actually,
really
a
for the legal.
blowjob in public. Is that?
I'm not really for
legal?
the legalities because I think
Some
it's-
countries, I'm sure that's perfectly legal.
Well, but
Is
some
that illegal?
countries, it's illegal to be homosexual. So it's like,
That's
I'm
true.
not for legal things. I'm for what makes you feel good, whatever's consensual with the partner you're doing it, and not obviously like traumatizing anyone else.
But there's a fine line, though, isn't there? Like, let's say, like I was telling you about this couple who she was giving in a blowjob. They weren't like, you wouldn't have seen them unless I happened to be walking
Yeah.
by this place where there was like a little like entryway, like it wasn't somewhere obvious. And let's say you go into a pub or like a bar or whatever, and you have sex against a wall behind is that legal? I don't
Well,
know.
here's the thing. I've had sex in a lot of dubious places.
Like against walls, and
Like in an elevator, in
elevator.
a car. I don't know. Just in places. I've done it in a forest, in a bush.
in a forest.
Like,
And
these
you
things
just
happen.
we had a creepy crawly in the studio earlier, and Susie almost like jumped out of her skin. And you're telling me you've gone at it in the forest?
Babe, I was a young girl. Okay, I was a young woman, and I was a different person, but I was fun. And I'm saying, this is what I'm saying: do it consensually. Do not traumatize anyone else,
100%.
and do it safely.
I think
that's it.
that's excellent advice. And
Thank
with
you.
that, I think that's it. We've
God
said
damn
everything
it!
that
Thank
has
God.
to be said. For now, we will go, and you'll think, thank God they've shut up.
Oh my God! Please, if you guys have kinks, if you guys tell us your dirty little secrets, it's all anonymous. You can tell us whatever you want. We're not going to say anything to anyone ever.
No.
Just tell us your dirty little stories. I want to hear all about them. And maybe, you could anonymously have your kink on the pod and we'll chat about it, or your story on the pod.
Absolutely.
I would absolutely love that.
Absolutely. She's making me laugh. Anyway,
Love you,
that's
babes.
that's it for today.
Should I dirty talk us out?
Oh, go on then.
Okay, everyone. It's time to make sure you like and review this sexy little podcast. And don't forget, Mel, our resident Mel, she's gonna reply to all of your messages.
That was amazing.
Mel is
Susie.
traumatized. Anyways, love you guys so much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening.
Sharing My Truth Pod is so excited to partner with Vibrator.com, where the A in vibrator is the number 8. This is an extremely exclusive code where no other podcast has it. If you go to Vibrator.com right now, use the code MS15, that's MS15 at Vibrator.com. You can now get 15% off anything in store. That's any sex toys for you, your partner, your neighbor, your mom. We don't judge. We don't care. Get it now. Go to the link in our bio, put in the code, and get jiggy with it.
Thanks so much for listening. Please rate and review this podcast and follow us on social at Sharing My Truth Pod, and leave us a voicemail on our website, sharingmytruth.com, to share your stories and experiences with us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.